everyone, welcome to another World of Tanks console video with me, Womble Leader, and in this one we're going to take a look at a tank that throws up a rather unique and interesting conundrum to the player. It is the M4A3 E2 Sherman Jumbo. Now after you have fully upgraded the M4 Sherman at tier 5, you unlock two further tanks. You've got the M4A3 E8, known as the Easy 8. That's the tank that the vast majority of people tend to go for, and then they probably complete that and move on to the tier 7, and this tank gets overlooked and forgotten, but it's the M4A3 E2 Sherman Jumbo. Now the difference between this tank and the Easy 8 is that the Easy 8 has mobility, whereas the Jumbo has a lot of armour. Now the front plate is 101mm, the lower plate is about 170, and the unique situation that this tank gives you is that the upgraded turret has nowhere near the same armour as the stock turret. The stock turret has a lot more armour, as we're about to see, but for all that armour on the stock turret, you sacrifice about 50 metres of fuel range, 35 hit points, and you're unable to actually run the top gun, which has an incredible rate of fire. So you can see here the difference between the two turrets. The stock turret has 152.4mm of armour all the way around, front, back and sides, and an even stronger mantlet, whereas the upgraded turret has a good mantlet, but it's around about 60mm of armour on the turret, so people will go through that, no problem whatsoever. But as I said, you do sacrifice your view range for the stock turret, and you do sacrifice the fact that you can't run the top gun. But the solution to that, you run the 105mm derp gun, you use the armour to get up close to your opponents, and if you get into a matchup like I'm about to do here, 152.4mm of turret armour in a hull down position in a top tier, tier 6 game, pretty much means that the enemy can do nothing to you, as I'm about to demonstrate here. This is a tank that just allows you to play the game a little bit silly. You use the armour in the right situation, you sort of get your fingers crossed you get into a tier 6 game, and then you just shoot them in the face with 105mm high explosive rounds. And even if you come up across the biggest gun that you can possibly come across at tier 6, I think it's the biggest gun you come up across at tier 6 anyway, you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, you can still just sit there with your 152.4mm of armour and go, yeah, good luck Mr. SU 100. Why? Because we're about to go up here, get into a hull down position, and just let the SU 100Y shoot at us. Well, we don't necessarily let them shoot at us because, you know, we don't just want to sit still, just in case the arty decides to get involved. We do get lucky here that the arty decides to leave us alone, which is definitely a bonus, because in this position it's about the only thing that could really ruin our fun. But yeah, the 100 SU 100Y there, I think it's got a 130mm gun at tier 6. I'm not entirely sure what the penetration is on it, but it seemed to be able to do nothing about the turret armour on this, and he gave up. He fired 2 shots at me and then he gave up. And then we're just taking out the Hellcat here, who's got no armour, so if we can pen our high explosive rounds, we do about 400 damage. If we don't pen them, we do about 110 to 130 damage. And we've got our 6-second reload. We don't really need to aim, we're in fairly close range, we just derp them in the face. And in this situation, there's almost nothing they can do about it, as we get lucky there with the auto aim shot into the side of the T-3488 for 437 damage, I think it was. We come back over, oh wait, another one, boom, there's 128 damage. We go for the ram on the Cromwell, but he dies before we can get there. And we've literally been playing for 2.5 minutes, we've done 1500 damage, we've blocked 900, and we've got a couple of hundred of assistance as well. And this one's all over, bar the shouting. And what did we do? We did absolutely nothing. We drove forward, we got into a hull down position, and then we were just able to, we're basically invincible from that point onwards. We've not even lost a hit point. Tags shot us a couple of times, he went, oh there's a Sherman, I'll shoot that. Realised that they couldn't pen us, probably going, what the hell is that thing? I don't even know what it is, because this is not a tank you see on the battlefield very often. People will just see this and they'll just go, that's a Sherman, I'll just shoot it through the front. But the armour on this is actually very, very effective. At tier 6, it's, you know, you're an OP tank. At tier 6, this thing is as OP as any tank at the tier. Doesn't hold up so well against tier 8, but then what kind of OP tank at its tier does against tanks 2 tiers higher than it. But yeah, you can do some really, really silly things with this in top tier matchups. This is by far not the best game I had. I had like 2k damage games continuously in this thing. But this one was kind of the most interesting one for just showing you if you get into that held down position, we can sit in front of an SU 100Y with its 130mm gun. I don't know what the pen is on that, but it's pretty beefy. I think it'll go through the front of most things, through the turret of most tanks, but the Sherman Jumbo was able to sit there in front of it and just say, yeah, you can give up on me, you're best shooting somebody else until I remove all your hit points. We finished P3 on that one. We've got a Bogatar and a Panzer 4.5 at the top, Shocker a 5.4 at the top. OP tanks for the win, But yeah, how do we do in against tier 8 games? Well, in the right situation, if you play the tank correctly, you can be very useful for your team. Now, this is the Arctic region here. Our team is getting beat. We tried to go down the flank there where the T-34 is, but we had to fall back rather sharpish, and we've kind of found ourselves in this position. We've got a T-34, the American tier 8 heavy premium tank, and we've got a Swedish tier 8 medium, the Draugen, in that corner as well. And as you can see, we're just kind of popping out, putting some high explosive rounds into them, actually parrying the side of the Draugen there, and bouncing the return shot as well off the turret. And you can, if you can get into the right situation with this tank, and use the turret armour, because you do have about 200mm of effective armour for the majority of the turret, except right next to the mantlet and the cheeks, you can actually be useful to your team. Now, it's certainly not going to hold up anywhere near the same way as it will in a tier 6 game. That's just the nature of the beast. They'll just go right through the front of you, most tier 8 tanks, rather easily, but the turret can still be relatively effective, and we're basically holding off 2 tier 8 tanks here. Now, we do have the assistance of another tank destroyer, and I think we've got a T-28 prototype up on the wee hill where the tank destroyers like to go and spend the entire game. But yeah, we're not going to pair a T-34, that's for sure, but we can still keep slotting rounds at them. We've already done about 200 damage to them. We did 133 there off the front, so we've taken about 300 of this 300 hit points off this T-34. We get round the side, we put another one into the side of them. We are going to take a return round, of course, in that situation there, and then the T-34 gets finished off. I thought it was me that killed them there, because we did fire off a round before an LTTB finishes us off. But yeah, we did 836 damage in the end there. We bounced the round off the Draugen. I think it was an APCR round as well. I don't know if the Draugen might fire that as standard, I'm not sure. Yeah, in a tier 8 game, this tank can, in the right situation, you have to play it much more sensibly, of course, than tier 6, but it can kind of be semi-useful with the derp gun, because you don't have to expose too much of your tank and just kind of spam high explosive rounds into them, which can be very annoying to the enemy. But in a tier 6 game, this thing is just OP. So if this has been a forgotten Sherman for you, if maybe you've never played it, then I would implore you to go back, take a look at it, set it up the way I've set it up here. If the stock turret, the 105 derp, give yourself some extra view range, and have some fun with it, because you can just have some ridiculous games in it. But yeah, thank you for watching, folks, and I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.